I liked chemistry, I liked biology. When I left medical school, I'd already taken a turn into science. By that stage, I was really focused on the idea of what caused type 2 diabetes. I'd seen the misery that this disease caused, and the textbooks didn't go anywhere near explaining what was actually causing it. I wrote a grant proposal for the MRC, I got an MRC training fellowship, and there I was, able to move forward and demonstrate the role of the insulin receptors in diabetes. And you know what? The role of the insulin receptor in common diabetes is 0. And that was the first time I came up against the establishment. So many people have asked why a diabetologist is in charge of an MR centre. The MR techniques have allowed us to look inside the body and follow physiology in real time. That's exactly what we need to unpick type 2 diabetes. In those days, under 7% of the population had a body mass index over 30. And at that time, relatively few people with diabetes were obese. So it didn't show up on the epidemiological studies as a factor. I came across a very determined person with type 2 diabetes, already on tablets. But look at its colour, this nasty bluish green, 36% liver fat. Now normal is said to be less than 5%, 36% is enormously high. So I said, I'm pretty sure we can get your fasting blood glucose back to normal. This person came back having lost weight enthusiastically because they were so motivated. And to my astonishment, not only had the fasting gone back to normal, but the post-glucose load level had gone back to normal. Something else was going on. And I looked back in the literature. Within a few months of sorting things out, I had the twin cycle hypothesis. If a person eats just slightly more than they personally can cope with over a period of time, the level of fat will build up inside the liver. Now the liver determines the level of blood sugar first thing in the morning, and if the liver is resistant to insulin action, the sugar level would tend to be rising. Because it tends to rise, the insulin level would rise, so I envisaged a vicious cycle. But excess fat in the liver means excess fat might be produced, and that might silt up in all the wrong places, including the pancreas. Excess fat in the pancreas would diminish the early insulin release. So we had it, but then if you diminish that first phase response, the sugar stays higher for longer after a meal. There will be more drive for the liver to turn that into fat, and so these twin cycles interact, and so we have a machinery that's grinding slowly onwards over a long period of time, probably 10 years. When I presented the hypothesis to the Diabetes UK scientific meeting in 2008, it was met with interest, but disbelief. This work disrespects 30 years of research on insulin resistance. Well, I didn't set out to disrespect anything. I was in a state of excitement then. The newspapers were full of what they called the Newcastle diet. It was widely talked about and, of course, dismissed by the experts. I think the thing that started to persuade my colleagues in medicine, twofold. For general practitioners, it was when they had their first patient who turned up with normal glucose levels off tablets. And so it was the counterbalance study, our second big study, a test. Would this disappearance of diabetes persist when people went back to normal eating? And the answer to that was yes. I was trying to find the cause of diabetes and hoping to improve treatment, instead of which we discovered that there was a way out. Type 2 diabetes develops when a person becomes too heavy for their own constitution. That rapid weight loss is so important. The second thing is how we use these new powerful appetite suppressant drugs. Especially acute is the problem of childhood gain in weight. I can't be the only grandparent who notices, taking grandchildren to swim in the swimming pool, that children are far too heavy. Some years ago, I was able to show, using the magnetic resonance studies, that liver fat was higher than it should be in women with gestational diabetes, and that after weight loss in pregnancy, not only did the liver fat fall, but the need for insulin treatment disappeared and the need for metformin treatment lessened. My motivation of doing this work comes from the patients. When I first took over the clinic, having young blind people in the clinic. And it was that aspect of type 2 diabetes and diabetes in general that drove me on to find the answer to these questions. So yes, it's all due to the patients. So for young people coming up, I would encourage them to stick with their ideas, but to test them rigorously. Yes, it's a matter of the determination to find the truth and to identify exactly what's going on, even though you're regarded as a maverick when you first announce it.